Hello and welcome. Tonight, heated debate in the Senate as the upper chamber moves to investigate the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means, as well as various intervention programs of the federal government, including the 10 trillion naira CBN anchor borrower scheme. It's a race against time in tackling the security challenges in the country as the Constitution Amendment Bill to introduce state police scales second reading in the House of Representatives. And the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners suspended its planned nationwide strike after a meeting with the Minister of State for Petroleum and other stakeholders in the oil and gas sector.
On business news tonight, new lease of life awaits Lake Chad Basin area following the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Commission and the African Development Bank Group.
On sports news tonight, Randy Wardrum returns as head coach of the Super Falcons for the first time since the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup. Says focus is on qualifying for the Olympic after 16 years absence.
And from Abuja, the Chief Justice of Nigeria urges West African leaders to uphold justice and equity in governance, vows to address challenges threatening the judicial system in the region.
And in international news from London, the US has proposed a draft resolution at the UN Security Council which calls for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza.
In the coming days, Nigerians may be treated to some revelations regarding the details of the ways and means, as well as the various intervention programs which are said to have raised the current debt profile of the country. This comes as the Senate has resolved to set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the over 22 trillion naira ways and means and other interventions, such as the 10 trillion CBN anchor borrower scheme. This formed part of the resolutions today after a debate on the report of the National Assembly Joint Committees on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, Finance, National Planning, Agriculture and Appropriation on the state of the economy. Our National Assembly correspondent, Gloria Umezoke, reports.
We are churning out
on the first plenary session of the week in the Senate features a report of the Joint Committees on Banking, Insurance and Other Financial Institutions, Finance, National Planning and Appropriation on the state of the economy. The report, which also emerged from an interaction with the President's Economic Management team, recommended the urgent need to bring down inflation.
This issue of high cost of living is real. All of us here operate from the market, whether you go directly or you say your relative or your stewards. My problem, sir, is that the agreements already reached between the federal government and Labour with regards to the 35,000 naira increase in salaries. I was told as of yesterday it was only paid twice. What is happening to the additional naira that is accruing to the federation account?
Even local governments, their grants, their allocations from the federation account has increased. They should also go out there, procure grains and distribute. What we have at hand is not the sole responsibility of the federal government to solve. The entire system must come together, must collaborate to make sure we do the needful.
Before we conclude this debate today, the rate of naira may have moved to 1,900. What does this suggest? We're in a state of emergency when it comes to management of our economy. Something must be wrong.
The debate gathered momentum following recommendations for further investigation into the 10 trillion naira anchor borrower scheme, as well as the federal government's ways and means loans. The need for clarity became expedient.
It is classified as obligation, 30 trillion. This debt overhang, Mr. President, is responsible for the problems we're having, which nobody says he knows the detail, how they spent that money. Outside 809-something billion, which this parliament, this Senate approved. We have colossal amount of money given to the banks. And this amount runs into trillions of naira. Some of the governors that benefited from that 18 billion naira are here.
Distinguished Senator Ndume, you were there when the Ways and Means were approved.
Check, I was not there, check the record. And as I said, number one, wait now, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot approve illegality. What they did was illegal. The Senate doesn't have the right. Let it be on record. I was not there. I was not there. Check the record. I was not there, but you were there. But I was not there. I was not there.
No one wanted to be culpable, but everyone was interested in the unfolding narrative. However, the former president of the Senate clarified the figures before a resolution is taken.
What the 9th National Assembly approved or ratified in terms of ways and means was not 29 or 30 trillion. It was 22. But there was 819 billion to attend to deal and address very serious infrastructural dilapidations that we had across the country. So if we have a ways and means that is 30 today, that means something happened between then and now. And it's for the National Assembly to find out what happened.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the ad hoc committee be set up to interrogate the details of the ways and means, their disbursements and usage, particularly the intervention programs such as the Anchor Borrower program, such as excess funding in the power sector, such as monies given to manufacturers and banks, and the airlines, and etc., to show up, which of course increase the current debt profile of the country.
Now, investigating the legality or otherwise of the Ways and Means loans was just part of the recommendations. The Senate committee also canvassed for more security, technology and incentives to farmers to boost agriculture productivity. Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
Staying in the upper chamber, some lawmakers have been reacting to the raid on the Bureau de Change operators in Abuja, stating that it is not a solution to the exchange rate volatility. Now, during the debate today, Senator Adams Oshomole maintains that the market has caused the crash of the Naira. His comment comes hours after the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, on Monday raided the Bureau de Change markets located in Zone 4 Abuja to halt their trading activities.
The market, over the past 6 months, even between when we prepared the budget and today, the market has destroyed the Naira. And talking about EFCC going to arrest some Bureau de Change operators, we are actually practically operating a system now in which if it's those who are completely uninformed about monetary policies that buy and sell exchange rate under the tree, that seems to be determining the real exchange rate. What the bank refers to as market means try to balance supply with demand. This is the policy that has crashed the Naira.
Meanwhile, the federal government says it has uncovered 32 illegal routes through which foodstuff is smuggled out of Nigeria. Vice President Kashim Shettima made this known while addressing a conference on public wealth management in Abuja. Also at the event, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, explained efforts to address food inflation as well as plans to order the 22.7 trillion naira Ways and Means.
And I looked at our budget deficit.
It's the first time the Ministry of Finance Incorporated will be hosting the Public Wealth Conference. In attendance at the meeting are government officials, members of the private sector, and the diplomatic corps. Public wealth management is a tool used by the government to unlock the potentials inherent in a nation's assets, which could be used for the good of the people. This conference becomes expedient in view of the nation's economic challenges.
Realizing the significance of the moment and the heavy duty and responsibility we have been entrusted with, we have embarked on a transformative journey to ensure that our public assets are managed strategically and with the utmost efficiency. Through transparency, accountability, and sound governance practices, we aim to maximize returns, attract investment, and drive sustainable economic growth for Nigeria.
MOFI was established to be the shareholder of federal government in commercial enterprises. And its goal was to ensure that we have commercial returns on all business enterprises where federal government has interest in.
The Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edu, backs the idea of the conference, highlighting plans by the federal government to alleviate the plight of Nigerians in view of the rising food inflation.
The reality is that we have engaged in major macroeconomic reforms on the fiscal side, and what really is not my remit, which is the monetary side, and it has come at a price. And at this particular moment, the cost of food and the availability of food is uppermost.
In his keynote address, the Vice President takes a swipe at those he says are worsening the nation's economic challenges.
Just 3 nights ago, 43 tons of maize, 45, not even 42, were caught being transported to a neighboring country. Just exactly the artists are 32 illegal smuggling boats. And the moment the boats put somewhere intercepted, the price of maize scaled by 10,000 naira. It came down from 60,000 to 50,000.
Unlocking public wealth is one area the federal government is hoping to deploy in changing the trajectory of the nation's economic situation. Sarah Chimugu, Channels Television News.
Back at the National Assembly, a constitution amendment bill to introduce state police has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, which is sponsored by 13 members of the House, enjoyed support from the majority of lawmakers who believe that concerns of political victimization by state governors should take the back seat due to the current state of insecurity across the country. Meanwhile, the House has passed a resolution to investigate the exodus of multinational companies from Nigeria. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, reports.
The House of Representatives commences the constitution amendment process with debate on a bill to introduce state policing.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today
State police has been a subject of controversy since the 7th Assembly and has failed to make it through the amendment phase. This time it enjoyed more support from lawmakers.
Amending the Constitution to allow state policing is not only a step towards true federalism, but also an acknowledgement of the diverse security challenges that vary from one state to another.
Mr. Speaker, today, the UN density for police is 4:1. We have a population of 200 million people, and the number of our policemen are under 400,000. It is appalling indeed.
So many states, we have security outfits. When they come out in their uniform, it gives impetus to the communities.
Concerns about how state governors will take advantage of the policing system under their control is still rife among some members, especially as they reflect on existing security outfits in some states and regions.
Many states, Mr. Speaker, do not even qualify to be states as it's today economically. Many states may need to be merged, let alone to be saddled with the issue of state police. Mr. Speaker, honourable members, as of today, we are a living witness. The federal government is battling on how to fund 300 or 400,000 police force in this country.
Regardless, the bill scales second reading.
Provide for establishment of state police and for related matters, second reading.
In the meantime, the House is to investigate the closure and exodus of multinational companies in Nigeria.
Collaborate with the private sector to develop policies that will stimulate economic growth and create job opportunities in the country. Prioritize investments in the infrastructure and power sectors, provide tax incentives to encourage businesses and investors to invest in Nigeria.
The federal government is further urged to prioritize investment in the infrastructure and power sectors, provide tax incentives to encourage businesses and investors to invest in Nigeria. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
In part two after the break, the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners suspend its planned nationwide strike, plus APC supporters in Edo State bear their minds on the outcome of last Saturday's primary election of their party ahead of the September governorship poll in the state. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Heated debate in the Senate as the upper chamber moves to investigate the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means, as well as various intervention programs of the federal government, including the 10 trillion naira CBN anchor borrower scheme. Federal government alleges sabotage of the nation's economy, claims it has uncovered 32 illegal routes through which foodstuff is smuggled out of the country. It's a race against time in tackling the security challenges in the country as the Constitution Amendment Bill to introduce state police scales second reading in the House of Representatives. And the Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners suspend its planned nationwide strike after a meeting with the Minister of State for Petroleum and other stakeholders in the oil and gas sector. More stories now. The Nigerian Association of Road Transport Owners, NARTO, has suspended its planned nationwide strike following a meeting with the Minister of State for Petroleum and other stakeholders in the oil and gas sector. NARTO members had threatened to commence an indefinite strike on Monday, owing to the rising cost of transporting petroleum products from the depot to fuel stations across the country. Meanwhile, members of the natural oil and gas suppliers of Nigeria are asking the federal government to urgently address the exchange rate disparity.
Thank you. This meeting between the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and members of the Nigeria Association of Road Transport Owners, Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria, and other stakeholders in the oil and gas sector is a follow-up to Monday's meeting aimed at stopping the planned strike by members of NARTO. Today's meeting held behind closed doors. After about an hour of deliberations, journalists were re-invited into the meeting room where both the Minister of Petroleum Resources and the NARTO president announced the suspension of the planned strike.
After, consultation with all stakeholders, we have come to the conclusion that the strike will be called off, or has been called off. You see the president of NATO here. We also have other stakeholders that are here. All the issues they raised have been addressed. And I've also given commitment on behalf of government that going forward, whatever government is expected to do will be done. We'll keep our own commitments. And we've started paying some of the breaching claims that, they raised yesterday. And as we get more money, we'll continue to pay them.
Even though we do not get what we want 100%, but at least there is some movement. And to look at the pains of the general public, Nigerians, everybody, and go back to normal work. Going forward, we'll continue to negotiate with the marketing companies based on the economic realities.
Earlier in the day, the Natural Oil and Gas Suppliers Association of Nigeria had asked the federal government to urgently address the disparity in the exchange rate, which it says is impacting negatively on their services.
Let the government come out and say 500 naira to $1 or 200 naira to $1, whatever rate that they come out with, they should stand. Government should act fast at least before the end of the month, adjust something fast. Otherwise, by the end of the month, the way things are, we don't need to go there and say we're withdrawing service. On its own, the service will withdraw.
The rising cost of living in Nigeria has largely been attributed to the high cost of diesel, petrol, and the continuous fall of the value of the naira, a situation that many citizens want the government to urgently address.
Supporters of the All Progressives Congress APC in Edo State with different positions on the outcome of last Saturday's primary election have been bearing their minds on the issue and demanding that the party's interest is placed above any other. While the former governorship aspirant, Mr. Washington Osifo, believes the question about who has the right to announce the result is myopic, a women's group within the party wants the NWC to issue the certificate of return to the man it considers the rightful winner. Still, another group continues to occupy the party's state secretariat, demanding answers from the state executive.
The APC State Secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State capital, taken over by angry youth and women protesting against the conflicting results from its primary election, remains under their control days after the primary.
This is our second day of being here, and we said it yesterday that we are going to be here till more tending, till the National Working Committee correct and answer us, because we cannot continue to be losing election in our states, especially at those sides here. So we need to correct the wrongs. We want them to sack all this state working committee so that they will bring the people that will win election on board.
In this hall, also in the state capital, Mr. Washington Osifo, who was at some point an aspirant on the party's platform before bowing to the reports of its screening committee, believes there ought not be arguments over whose responsibility it is to declare the primary election results.
The argument about who has the responsibility to announce results is clearly myopic and caustic. Only 4 years ago, the same Governor Hope Uzodimma played exactly the same role in 2019. Let me therefore call on all former gubernatorial aspirants and their followers, fledgling Moses and Smartin, for a showdown to sheathe their sword and put the interest of the party over personal and primordial sentiments.
This other women group, also from the party, is however making different demands.
Oh, we are here to throw our weight behind our project in the person of Senator Monday Okpele. I want to appeal that the certificate of return should be given to him so that it will be seen as the authentic person to fly our flag. And I want to appeal. We are mothers here, we are grandmothers. I want to appeal to our brothers and sisters that are aggrieved that we should all come together and work for him.
Even though still resilient on their positions, a common idea the different sides highlight is the need for all the satisfied members of the party to work together to overcome the opponent in the main election come September 21, 2024. Jessica Olugusere, Channels Television News.
Let's now head to the nation's capital, where Victoria Lonjon is on standby to give us the very latest from our Abuja studio. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, Ayol. We begin here with legal matters. As the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Olukayode Ariwola, is giving assurances of addressing challenges that threaten the judicial system in West Africa and the ECOWAS Court of Justice. Justice Ariwola, who is the chairman of the ECOWAS Judicial Council, is also calling on West African leaders to apply justice and equity to build a robust region. He said this at the statutory meeting of the ECOWAS Judicial Council in Abuja. Our judiciary correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
Chief Justices of ECOWAS member states, led by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justices of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, and other senior judicial officers have converged for a meeting of the ECOWAS Judicial Council. The meeting is aimed at taking stock of achievements made, challenges being faced, and additional efforts required in addressing the problems of the judicial system in the region. Article 77 of the ECOWAS Revised Treaty empowers the authority of heads of state and government of ECOWAS to impose certain sanctions on any member state who fails to fulfill its obligations to the community, and this includes compliance with the judgments of the court. However, this power is yet to be exercised by the apex organ of ECOWAS. The ECOWAS Court of Justice was created in 1991 with the mandate of ensuring the observance of law and the principles of equity. However, the enforcement of the court's judgments over the years has been a major issue.
The court must adopt strategies that strengthen its jurisdiction whilst appreciating the jurisdictional boundaries of the court and limiting unnecessary conflict with domestic laws of member states. It is important for the court to pay attention to the peculiarities of member states and refrain from issuing orders and judgments that are practically incapable of enforcement.
The president of ECOWAS Commission says the judiciary remains crucial in the efforts to curb instability and insecurity in the West African sub-region.
The role of the justice sector is crucial in conflict prevention through the promotion and defense of the rule of law and human rights. It is therefore crucial to institutionalize a more regular meeting of the Judicial Council to ensure that the activities of the court benefit from the regular review and guidance of the Council.
However, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, who is also the chairman of the Council, says the challenges facing the Council, which include inadequate funding and capacity, have presented opportunities for innovation and collaboration.
The ECOWAS Judicial Council stands as a beacon of hope and progress in the quest for justice and regional integration within West Africa. Through his tireless efforts to uphold the rule of law, promote judicial independence, and enhance access to justice, the Council has made invaluable contributions to the advancement of democracy, human rights, and prosperity in the region.
Many expect at the end of this three-day meeting that issues such as judgment enforcement by leaders of member states will be thoroughly tackled for speedy justice delivery. Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Now still ahead on the news at 10, Africa Development Bank Group and the Lake Chad Basin Commission signed MOU to restore the basin. That's on Business News. To join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is appealing to Nigerians to be patient with President Tinubu's administration amidst the economic challenges bedeviling the nation. The minister made the appeal during the flag-off ceremony of a 5-kilometer road in Abaji Area Council. Our correspondent Kumbi Aboluwade reports.
This Naharati River, Hukia and Gowa Hausawa Road in Abaji Area Council is the 5th flag-off in the series of road constructions in area councils in the Federal Capital Territory. This road project covers a total distance of 5 kilometers. In view of other projects flagged off recently by the Federal Capital Territory Administration, the Oversighting Director, Satellite Town Development, gives a breakdown.
Today is the flag off of construction of a 5-kilometer Narati Pukua Angwa Ausara Road, 3-span river bridge in Abaji area. Scope of works consists of construction of 5-kilometer asphalt concrete finish road on 8-meter carriageway.
The Abaji Area Council chairman, as well as the traditional leader, believe this project will bring succor and promote agricultural activities.
The Naharati Angwa Hausa route was deliberate choosing because of the connectivity. When completed, it will decongest the bypass, improving access to market, school, healthcare facilities, and other essential services for rural communities.
After all the goodwill messages, the minister proceeds to the podium to address the residents. He makes an appeal for patience with President Bola Tinubu's administration. He assures that the difficulties will be over soon.
I know that we have suffered quite a lot in the past. Is that correct? So you see that you want things to change immediately. It's not true. I want to appeal to you to be patient. I want to appeal to you to be patient. You see, I will never associate myself, identify myself with anything that will not work. If I tell you that things will turn around positively, be assured that it will turn around positively.
After his speech, in the company of the guest, the minister proceeds to flag off the road construction. He promises that all area council constructions will be completed by the end of 2024. From the nation's capital, Kumbi Abuluwade, Channels Television News.
The security matters now. Armed bandits have kidnapped over 26 travelers on the Gusau-Sokoto Expressway today. The bandits, who were said to have blocked the road along the Kwaran Carrier village in Maru local government area of Zanfara state, abducted all the passengers from a Toyota 18-seater bus and a Volkswagen Golf car. A resident of the area told Channels Television that the situation is getting worrisome as the bandits now block the road on a daily basis. He expressed concern about a village called Balge on the highway, which he claimed harbors suspected bandits. The source appealed to the government to deploy security outposts around the area to check the activities of the criminals. Police authorities in the state are yet to comment on the latest incident. And in Kogi State, Governor Usman Ododo is challenging the caretaker chairman of the transition committees in the local government areas to sustain the fight against insecurity in their various domains. He's also promising that his administration will continue to provide every support needed to ensure peace and security in the state. Governor Ododo said this in the Government House, Lokoja, after a closed-door meeting with the chairman.
Today, I have called on the caretaker transition chairman of various local governments to hear from them firsthand the challenges they are faced with security-wise. And we thank God we have a very successful meeting and have given them a charge to continue to give our people that security that they deserved. Because if they cannot sleep with their two eyes closed and to go out to do their normal businesses, then we have a problem. The height we have achieved in the last administration, security-wise, we will not allow anybody to undermine our resolve to give our people the security they deserve. And as such, we have resolved to take it upon us to take the fight to them wherever they hide so that our people can live peacefully. I will continue to collaborate, to synergize, and to work with all security agencies, and I will continue to lead from the front. I want to assure you that the issue of criminals in Kogi State will remain hot and unsafe for them.
And that's it from Abuja. It's now back to you, Ayo, for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you so much, Victoria. Employees of the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria, alongside other labor unions, have kicked against the ban on sachet alcoholic beverages by the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. They expressed their grievances and frustrations while protesting at the office of the agency in the Solo area of Lagos. Organizers insist no fewer than 5 million persons have been rendered jobless following the ban.
It's the latest string of demonstrations against NAFDAC's ban on sachet alcoholic beverages, and employees of the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria are marching from Isolo Underbridge to the agency's office to buttress the grievances. Organizers insist the ban is, among other things, totally against the government's drive to promote the Buy Nigerian product as they are majorly indigenous.
Almost 800 billion naira has been invested into this industry. Machines have been brought into the industry. A situation where Nigerians are already grappling with unemployment. NAFDAC want to come and compound the problem again by making many of our youth to become unemployed. We begin to ask, what are the indices? What are the indices you put on the table to say that children are drinking this alcohol? None.
There's a situation, there's problem in the country already. The country is saturated with absolute criminality. And which means you want to increase the criminals. Because the people who are laying off from the job, they must have means of livelihood. So when that one is not there, what happens? They go to criminality because they must survive.
A representative from the agency eventually speaks with the protesters who insist that the ban is definitely not the solution, calling for access control policy and regulation by NAFDAC.
Please, I want to appeal to you that your grievances and your thoughts about this matter are being considered. We are not in any way neglecting or disregarding you. It cannot happen.
What we are saying, go and regulate. Go and regulate where? Go and reunite your policies and regulate. This is not an area, this is not the period we shut down anything. This is not the period where we are talking about ban. There are many things that are coming out of the country that are from other countries to this place today. Who is banning them? Who is seizing them?
NAFDAC commenced enforcement of the ban on sachet alcoholic beverages and glass bottles of 200 ml and below on February 1. But employees of the Distillers and Blenders Association of Nigeria insist no research or data suggests that alcoholic beverages in sachet promote underage drinking.
Many parts of Lagos and Ogun states were flooded earlier today as a result of the morning downpour in the two states. The rain caused traffic gridlock in several places, leaving commuters stranded, while vehicles that attempted to wade through the floods had a very hectic time.
Many areas.
A team from the United States Consulate has visited Ekiti State, where they met with Governor Abaji, who highlighted security, infrastructure, and job creation among the key areas his administration is seeking productive partnership. Led by the U.S. Acting Ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. David Green, the consulate team expressed delight at the developmental projects being undertaken in Ekiti State.
I'm very proud of the work that the United States government is already doing in Ekiti State, whether it's in terms of our overall development agenda, or whether in particular it's in the agricultural sector, where we have some very exciting projects. Support for a dairy farm that's producing 10,000 liters of milk a day with U.S. cattle, where we are supporting the cocoa sector in Ekiti and 5 other states, trying to strengthen the value chain in cocoa to improve the livelihoods of cocoa producers and processors across the key cocoa producing parts of Nigeria. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the private sector that is going to make the difference. Governments have a very important facilitating job to do: infrastructure, security, anti-corruption, but it's bringing the private sectors together to invest and to create jobs that can transform the lives of the citizens of Nigeria, and in particular the residents of Ekiti. So I'm very glad to be here today in order to learn more, in order to understand what kind of opportunities are there, and to try and encourage and facilitate U.S. Ekiti, as it were, trade and development.
In his remarks, Governor Oyebanji commended the consulate and other partners for their partnership with Ekiti State.
A government that is socialistic, a government that believes in the rule of law, and a government that believes in reforms and changes. It's better to collaborate. Ekiti is one of that government. And all the rating agencies have described Ekiti as a very accountable state, as a very transparent state. You can check the numbers. We are small, but we have very big ideas. And one of our strengths is Ekiti State is the only homogeneous state in this country. We are one, all of us are one. So we don't have sharp divisions along religion, and it's one of the safest states in the country. So definitely I'm excited that we are here. And as we go around the states to look at, to see what we have done, we have enhanced security across our institutions and across that zone. And we have the support of our citizens to bring prosperity to them.
It's now time for some business news with Joke Rogers.
Thank you, Aya. Today, welcome to Business News. Some positive developments come in the way of the Lake Chad Basin area following the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the African Development Bank Group and the Lake Chad Basin Commission during the 37th African Union Summit in Ethiopia. The agreement is expected to mobilize financial and technical resources to improve water resource management, support livelihoods, and restore peace in the region. Lake Chad, once considered the sixth largest inland water body globally, has shrunk by a staggering 92% in recent decades, endangering the food security of around 50 million people, including the states who depend on the Chad Basin, including Nigeria. Weeks after fulfilling its commencement obligations to operate the Zungeru hydroelectric power plant, the concessionaire Penstock Limited has finally taken over its operations. The concessioning of the plant located in Niger State is part of the government's plans to overhaul the power sector for improved service delivery. Vice President Kashim Shettima gave this update during the first meeting of the National Council on Privatization for 2024 in Abuja today. The concession agreement was signed by the Bureau of Public Enterprises and Penstock Limited in December last year, in a move expected to boost the country's power generation capacity and address the growing energy needs. We'll talk about the growing agitation against the high cost of living, which has caused protests across the country, means government at all levels must begin the needed change by looking inwards to reduce expenses. This is a suggestion by the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, who shared his thoughts during a conversation on the high cost of living on a Business Morning earlier today.
So the economy is coming to equilibrium, but let us not deceive ourselves that there's a quick fix for this. Some things are now moving in the right direction, but very, very slowly. What the people want are, let us see the supply of the goods. Let's stop making fake, false promises. 2, let us begin to see that government expenditure and lavish lifestyle of government officials is toned down. First of all, let us be honest with the people. Secondly, let us tone down our lavish lifestyles so that there's equal sacrifice amongst both policymakers, regulators, market players, and everybody. There's too much opulence and ostentation at a time of hunger and desperation.
The domestic equities market slumped further south at the close of trading today as investors continue to take profit. Will Ibong tells us more about the trading.
Thanks, Joke. Just as Mr. Bismarck Rouhani predicted earlier today on Business Morning, it's another drop for the oil share index, but by a smaller margin when compared to yesterday. As profit-taking intensifies, the oil share index dropped by 1.3% to 101,060 points. And this is a sure banker that we are fast losing the 100K level. We also see the market cap also falling to 55 trillion. And the question is, can we afford to lose this coveted spot that we've already got into? Let's keep tracking. Now, the banking sector also dipping losses today with the tier 1 banks like Zenith Bank, GTCO, Access Holdings taking a beating today, and that's why we see that 2.37% drop. Now, Dangote Sugar with more than 2 naira lost from its share price dropped the consumer goods sector, and while industrial goods was not left behind in this bloodbath. And the star of the show, Boa Cement. Yesterday, it was Dangote Cement. Well, today, investors turn their eyes to Boa Cement. It's all about the cement prices, right? Some investors think it's time to cash in, but others think buying into the market right now is like catching a falling knife. I would say do your research and seek financial advice. And that's it for today. We'll let the bear have his day. Willie Bung, signing out.
That's Business News tonight. Back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you so much, Joke. A judge in Haiti has charged widow of murdered President Jovenel Moïse in connection with his assassination on July the 7th, 2021. Martine Moïse, who was injured in the attack in which her husband was killed, is one of dozens charged following a 2-year investigation. Sami Pizzi has more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The United States has proposed a draft resolution at the UN Security Council which calls for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza. It has also warned Israel against invading the overcrowded city of Rafah. The US has previously avoided the word ceasefire during UN votes on the war, but President Joe Biden has made similar comments. More than 1 million displaced Palestinians, who represent about half of Gaza's population, are crammed into Rafah after being forced to seek shelter there. The southern city, which borders Egypt, was home to only 250,000 people before the war. Meanwhile, Benjamin Netanyahu says the international community cannot impose a two-state solution once the war ends.
Israel categorically rejects international edicts on a permanent arrangement with the Palestinians. Such an arrangement will be achieved only through direct negotiations between the sides without preconditions.
The crew of a Belize-flagged British-registered cargo vessel have abandoned ship off Yemen after it was hit by missiles fired by the Houthi movement. The Ruby Mar was in the Gulf of Aden when it was hit, and the crew abandoned ship. The Houthis later claimed it had sunk. It is one of the most damaging attacks so far by the Iran-backed Houthis. They have launched dozens of missiles and drones at merchant vessels and Western warships since mid-November. The family of Alexei Navalny, the Putin critic who died in a Russian prison, have reportedly been told his body will not be released for 2 weeks. His mother was informed it was being held for chemical analysis. There has been no confirmation of the whereabouts of the body from Russian authorities, while efforts to locate it have been repeatedly shut down. The wife of the late Russian opposition leader has accused them of hiding it.
Меня не должно было быть на этом месте.
In a video on Monday, vowing to continue his work to fight for a free Russia, Yulia Navalnaya directly accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of killing her husband. She also alleged his body was being kept until traces of poisoning by the nerve agent Novichok had disappeared. The body of a man who was shot dead in Spain is believed to be that of a Russian helicopter pilot who defected to Ukraine last year. In August, Maxim Kuzminov flew a helicopter into Russian territory where he handed himself in. Spanish police have not publicly confirmed the identity of the man who was killed near Alicante last week. However, Ukrainian intelligence confirmed Mr. Kuzminov's death. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has begun a 2-day hearing in what could be his final bid to appeal his extradition from the UK to the United States. He has been in a UK prison since 2019 and is wanted by the US for leaking secret military files in 2010 and 2011. In 2021, the UK High Court ruled that he should be extradited, dismissing claims that his poor mental health meant he might take his own life in a US jail. He says the case against him is politically motivated, and his lawyers have suggested they will take the case to the European Court of Human Rights if the appeal is turned down. Outside court, his wife said Mr. Assange's case is an attack on all journalists.
This case is an admission by the United States that they now criminalize investigative journalism. It's an attack on all journalists all over the world. It's an attack on the truth, and it's an attack on the public's right to know. Julian is a political...
Mr. Kamal or say put in place. And X, formerly known as Twitter, has finally paid off the staff it sacked in its African headquarters more than a year after they were laid off. Most had only been in the job, based in Ghana's capital Accra, for a few months, when the social media platform fired them in November 2022. They had threatened to take X to court for failing to pay the redundancy money they said they were promised. The company has not commented. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Nighttime African champions Nigeria will arrive in Douala, Cameroon on Wednesday evening ahead of Friday's 2024 Olympic qualifiers against the Lionesses of Cameroon as they continue to search for a ticket to another appearance at the Women's Olympics football tournament after 16 years. Coach Randy Waldrum, who is back as the team head coach since after the FIFA Women's World Cup last year, says they are determined to break the jinx this year and seal a spot for the Paris Games. Former African Games champions Edem Offiong has blamed poor routing of the Nigerian team at the 2024 IWTF World Team Table Tennis Championship in South Korea on inadequate preparations, while acknowledging that the tournament would help to prepare teams for next month's African Games in Ghana. Nigeria, considered as one of the heavyweights in Africa, suffered early exits both in the men and women's team event in Busan, South Korea. And former world number one Andy Murray has ended a 6-match losing run to topple qualifier Alexandra Muller 6-1, 7-6 at the Qatar Open earlier today. The three-time Grand Slam champion raced through the first set but was made to dig deep by his French rival in the second half to finally get his 2024 season off the ground. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. The Senate today engaged in a heated debate as the upper chamber moved to investigate the 22.7 trillion naira ways and means, as well as various intervention programs of the federal government, including the 10 trillion naira CBN anchor borrower scheme. And an amendment bill to introduce state police has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. The bill, which is sponsored by 13 members of the House, enjoyed support from the majority of lawmakers. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. You have a good night and please stay safe.